Just days after the American Civil War finally ended, the country was battered and exhausted, but a fragile sense of hope was beginning to bloom. At the very heart of that hope was President Abraham Lincoln, the man who had shouldered the immense weight of a nation torn apart. Like anyone, Lincoln needed a break. So on the evening of April 14th, 1865, he and his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, along with 2 guests, decided to attend a comedy play called Our American Cousin at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. It was meant to be a simple, relaxing night out. When the president arrived, the theater buzzed with excitement. The audience rose to its feet, erupting in cheers and applause. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, people saw their leader smile, a rare, unguarded moment of peace. But in the shadows of the same city, a dark and meticulous plan was already in motion. The man behind this plan wasn't some shadowy spy or hardened criminal. He was John Wilkes Booth, one of the most famous and charismatic actors of his time. Booth was a household name, celebrated for his talent on stage. But beneath the fame was a fierce devotion to the Confederate cause. He vehemently disagreed with Lincoln's vision for the country and saw the South's defeat as a personal and national tragedy. Booth convinced himself that the only way to save his version of America was to eliminate its leader, and he knew the perfect place to do it. Ford's Theater was like a second home to him. He knew every hallway, every backstage shortcut, and every hidden corner. This intimate knowledge of the building made his sinister plan terrifyingly simple to execute. Inside the theater, the play was in full swing, and waves of laughter filled the air. President Lincoln sat comfortably in a rocking chair inside the presidential box, enjoying the show. The atmosphere was relaxed, perhaps too relaxed. With the war over, the sense of immediate danger had faded, and the guard assigned to the president's box had stepped away from his post. This was the opening Booth was waiting for. He crept silently toward the door of the presidential box. He'd brought a small wooden bar with him, which he used to jam the door shut from the inside, preventing anyone from following him in quickly. He waited, listening for the perfect moment. Then it came. The play delivered one of its biggest punchlines, and the entire theater erupted in a massive roar of laughter. Under the cover of that sound, Booth made his move. He slipped quietly into the private box. Lincoln, completely absorbed in the play, never saw him, never heard him, never even knew he was there. Booth raised a small pistol, aimed, and fired a single shot. For a moment the audience was confused. The loud noise could have been part of the play. But then Booth made a move no one could ignore. In a dramatic flourish befitting his acting career, he leaped from the presidential box down to the stage below. It was a 12-foot drop, and he landed awkwardly, fracturing his leg. Despite the intense pain, adrenaline propelled him forward. He stood, brandished his weapon, and shouted Sic Semper Tyrannis, a Latin phrase meaning thus always to tyrants. Then he limped off the stage, disappearing through a side door and out into the night, leaving behind a scene of chaos and horror. Panic swept through the theater as the truth of what had just happened began to sink in. Doctors rushed to the president's side. Lincoln was alive, but barely. He was carefully carried across the street to a nearby boarding house, the Peterson House, and laid in a small back bedroom. Throughout the long night, doctors, cabinet members, and officials gathered, holding a solemn vigil. They did everything they could, but the wound was mortal. The next morning at 7:22 a.m. on April 15th, 1865, Abraham Lincoln died. He was the first American president ever to be assassinated. The news spread like a shockwave across the nation. A country that was supposed to be celebrating peace was suddenly plunged into profound grief. People wept openly in the streets. Newspapers struggled to keep up with the demand for information. It felt as if the nation had lost its guiding star just as it was navigating its way out of the darkness. As for John Wilkes Booth, his escape was short-lived. A massive manhunt, one of the largest in American history, was launched immediately. For 12 days he managed to evade capture, hiding in swamps and barns with the help of sympathizers. But federal troops eventually tracked him to a tobacco barn in Virginia. Booth refused to surrender, and the barn was set on fire. He was shot and killed during the standoff. Lincoln's assassination didn't just end a life. It dramatically altered the course of American history. The period after the Civil War, known as Reconstruction, was meant to be a time of healing and rebuilding, of bringing the Southern states back into the Union. Lincoln had favored a lenient, compassionate approach to this process. But with him gone, that vision was lost. His death empowered radical Republicans in Congress who wanted to punish the South more severely. His successor, Andrew Johnson, clashed with Congress, leading to political chaos. The path to national reconciliation became far more difficult and contentious, and the struggles for civil rights for newly freed African Americans faced even greater obstacles. Now you might be wondering, is this whole story a mystery? Are there lingering questions? The answer is no, not really. This is a tragic chapter of history, not an unsolved case. We know exactly who did it, John Wilkes Booth. We know why he did it, his fanatical political beliefs and anger over the South's defeat. We know where it happened, Ford's Theater. And we know what happened afterward, Lincoln's death, Booth's capture, and a fundamental shift in the nation's future. While a few minor conspiracy theories have popped up over the years suggesting Booth had help from high-ranking officials or even escaped capture, none of these have ever been substantiated with credible evidence. The core facts of the event are well documented and undisputed. So the assassination of Abraham Lincoln remains one of the most pivotal and heartbreaking moments in American history. A story of how one man's act of violence extinguished a life and forever changed the destiny of a nation that was just beginning to heal. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story interesting, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. See you next time.